Hello, good evening, and welcome back to it is semifinals weekend, and we have winner's bracket, and I can hear myself. Hold, please. Okay, I'm just gonna roll with no audio so that I don't hear myself echoing. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing me twice, but yeah. First winners bracket semifinal here, getting underway. United States versus Indonesia, the team that has decided to make everyone who wants to watch or talk about their matches a living hell. Both the teams looking pretty good coming into this round. United States kind of faltered a little last week, had I think more trouble than people really expected them to against Italy in a 6-4 win. Indonesia really played quite well in defeating Poland 6-1, so I think we expect pretty good things out of this Indonesian team that is going to be very hard to talk about because they're all just named after VTubers instead of using their own actual usernames. Joining me was going to be ChillierPear. I guess it's going to be iFlame for the moment, so we're gonna say hi to iFlame, possibly not sure what's going on. Now I have no Discord stream. Hey, there he is. Okay, all right, we're good.
Yeah, we are here, possibly for the match, possibly temporarily. It depends if Chillier shows up, but for now, I'm here, and we've got some bans in for both teams.
Yeah, USA banning the DT2. Don't want to have to deal with that against Indonesia, who were really good on DT2 last week. Indonesia, in turn, banning out the DT4 against the United States, who did quite well on last week's DT4. One thing I do want to mention before we get too deep into this is that if you're looking at last week's scores, United States was missing Takedo, who is like one of their top 2 players, I would say. So maybe take a little bit of a grain of salt there with that result against Italy. But I don't know. I don't know what to think of this match. I think both these teams are really good, and I think it should be pretty closely fought.
Yeah, I think this one could go either way. Of course, the United States being the first seed here should be the favorites. They just have such a stacked lineup, but Indonesia, very strong team as well. So we've got the DT2 ban from the US, we've got a DT4 and a No Mod 5 ban from Indonesia, and then it's going to be the Free Mod 1 ban for the United States. And very interesting that most of the seed in this pool has been banned out. No Mod 5 and the DT2, but by different teams.
Yeah, I mean, no, the No Mod 5 is actually a rhythm map. Or actually, it's a reading map. So you're looking at the DT2 and the Free Mod 1 that are the speed maps being banned out. Both got banned out by the United States. And I think it makes sense because USA is really not a speed-focused roster. And they saw what Indonesia did on last week's DT2 and Free Mod 1, and they don't want to have that happen to them. Indonesia really, I guess, the No Mod 5 is like afraid of USA reading, I guess, which, I don't know. I don't know if I'm terrified of it, but if you're not maybe great at the map, that could be an issue. And then DD4, which is like reading, tapping, light aim, kind of mix of skill sets.
Yeah, it could very much be a comfort thing. It's very possible that they just don't have 3 players that can comfortably get through the map. Because even if USA isn't necessarily super strong on the No Mod 5, I would be pretty surprised if they can't at the very least put together a solid 3-person roster for it. And so we're just going to see that banned away. Indonesia does have the first pick now. I do feel like we could potentially see one of the hiddens out of them early on. Probably not the low AR hidden, but even something like the HD1 could be good for them. They do have a lot of strong hidden players on that team.
I mean, they 3-wayed last week's hidden one, so wouldn't be surprising to see them bring that out again. United States maybe a little better than Poland on the hidden ones, hard to say, but it's going to be the No Mod 3 instead, which is one of 5 maps that these teams shared in common in their matches last week. Indonesia had the 2nd best score overall, USA had the 3rd best score overall, so should be a very balanced, I think.
US has been pretty solid on No Mod 3s overall for the tournament. I would definitely give a slight edge to Indonesia, but by no means a guaranteed point.
Yeah, and I think this week's No Mod 3 is an interesting one because it's very aim-oriented. Like, the main difficulty of this map just comes from, kind of, it's like high BPM aim, essentially. Which makes it a little different than a lot of, more flow-oriented No Mod 3s that you often see.
I do think that is going to favor Indonesia. Overall, they do have a lot of players that are very good at the aim picks, and so they're going to be very happy with the more aim-focused No Mod 3. And here we go, into the first map. Indonesia looking to take the first point over the US here.
Yeah, we've got Fiery Trail Taquito against some VTubers. I don't know. It's that noob guy Ryuto and Mindfrost, if you actually want to know who the players are. But yeah, this is, it's like low BPM streams into high BPM aim is basically the entire concept of this pick. And so we will see who kind of has the superior consistency on those types of skills.
Yep, there goes Koyori, gonna find the first early miss.
What you want to see? When you know the teams are going to be closely matched on a map, it's really scary when one of them breaks super early, because that could be like all the leverage that the opponents need, right, to build up a little bit of a lead. And when they were already less than 100k apart last week on this map, like that's all it could take. And this is not a very long map either. And there's another map, another break from Koyori too. So these are different plays.
it's especially scary because the end of this map is so much harder than the beginning, right? And so it's really hard to make up that combo into the end of the map because you do expect to see a lot more drops from both teams. I mean, I guess the one hope for Indonesia here, as we get into the harder half of the map, is that one of your players can hold on to the diff spike and most of the United States players break, but right now it's Indonesia trailing by almost 250,000.
Yeah, and looking as well at the accuracy, right? All three USA players over 99%. Meanwhile, you have 97, 97, and 90. And there's breaks from Koyori and Amamiya. This is like over. We haven't even gotten to the hard part yet, but it's a 500k lead to the United States. I'm not sure what's happening to Indonesia that they all found that they had, you know, those multiple breaks in the easier portion of the map, but unfortunately, it's much to their detriment. USA is just going to run away with this as there goes their last FC. This is over and done with.
And this is not just a close break point that you're giving up. The Indonesia is getting absolutely dominated on their own first pick. Yes, Trailmix finds the miss, but Taquito and Fire Rage both pulling FCs, and that's pretty devastating if you're Indonesia. It does hurt, of course, always to lose your first pick, but to lose it in such a dominant fashion is especially tough.
Yeah, that was never close after the first, 30 seconds maybe. I mean, the USA just never was in any position of being worried about losing that. Taquito 400s 150, really strong act play from him. Fire Rage not far behind. And I don't feel that this is necessarily an issue, but I'd like to hear a take on it. Indonesia in the past has had a lot of trouble with scaling in tournaments like OWC, and 3WC is not that far behind in terms of star rating. Do we worry about Indonesia potentially having trouble scaling into a late round pool like this one against a team that scales maybe a little better with some of these OWC experienced players on the USA side?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at kind of the top teams, right? The United States has players like Fire Rage, like Trailmix. I mean, so many good players on the US. Then on South Korea, you've got Forum, worst HR player. You've got Crystal on the side of China. So all of these other kind of top teams have at least one star player that you can count on to generally carry maps in these later stages and put up really good scores no matter what. And because of that, you really only need 2 players to fill in the other 2 spots. And between the other 5 players on your team, most of the time you're going to be able to fill those spots without too much trouble. When you look at Indonesia, they don't really have a star player. I think they tend to seed very highly and do very well in the early rounds because they're just such a balanced team. You know, between the 6 of them, they can put up a very capable roster for pretty much any map you can imagine. But when it comes to those later stages, they just don't have the star player power to keep up with some of these big carries from the other teams, and I think we may see that persist throughout 3WC, but we do have the free mod 2 pick. I don't think this is unexpected for the US. They just have such a strong roster for the mod categories, and with these 3WC especially, you don't need a hidden and a hard rock. You just need 2 mods, regardless of what they are. And I believe on this free mod, we have seen fairly often players opting for the hard rock over the hidden, but it has been a good mix overall.
Yeah, I think this map is a little bit of a comfort mod pick. And as you see, you know, United States rolling into it with the hidden on Taquito, no surprise there. Hidden hard rock on Trailmix, no surprise either. Fiery on Nomad, and then on the other side, hidden on Lovelock, hidden on Koyori. So, you know, taking advantage of the fact that you don't need to have, like you said, a hidden and a hard rock for Indonesia, but this is like a little bit of a pick your poison type of free mod in terms of what your mod selection is, because it's pretty difficult regardless of what you pick. The rhythm is difficult if you know, remove hit circles, because I think there's a lot of hit circle reading you can do, or approach circle reading you can do, I mean, on certain of these patterns. But, you know, hard rock just adds to the difficulty as per its name. So, we'll see how the mod players all do, I guess, is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, hidden hard rock for Trailmix does feel a little bit risky, but if you are going to go the hard rock anyways, then the kind of added hidden is just a comfort pick for a lot of players, and they're going to have the advantage of the added multiplier. But right now, I was going to say the added multiplier is not doing a ton for them, but accuracies are low across the board, and there's the first big miss from Rasemi.
Yeah, right as you get into this first difficult section with the higher slider velocity sliders, and Pipkin follows up immediately thereafter, and once again, we're in this spot early on in a map, only a third of the way through, where there are now no FCs left on Indonesia as Koyori falls. Meanwhile, Taquito, the only one to have broken from the United States. Fiery and Trail Mix still looking strong, and again, United States jumping out to a pretty big lead. We're not even halfway through, and it's already going to be 240k.
Yeah, I mean, look at the accuracies too. It's nearly 5% accuracy differences across the board. And so even if Indonesia was somehow able to match the combo for the US, it just wouldn't be nearly enough. They realistically need to have significantly better combo than the US to make up for the massive accuracy difference here. And halfway through the map, doesn't look like it's happening. Trail Mix and Fire Rage both holding full combos. And as we get to the halfway mark, this is where we're going to start to see those hidden hard rock multipliers really come into effect for Trail Mix. And Pipkin does find another miss for Indonesia. Things are not looking good here.
Yeah, Pipkin's been having a lot of trouble. Koyori's not doing a ton better. I mean, Lovelock up there, like, well, there's a break as well. It's just Indonesia looking pretty fully uncomfortable with this map. Meanwhile, Fire and Trail are just going off, and Taquito has recovered quite well from his early break. Finally, Trail breaks the HDHR FC, but I mean, even just getting to 560k without breaking at all is a pretty impressive result for him. And Fiery just super comfortable on the no mod on this. I mean, that's like the anchor player. You have to have them performing well, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Yep, and this is kind of what you want from your no-mod player. You want them to be able to put up the big scores because they should have the easier time on these maps, excluding sometimes the low AR free mod picks, which this is not. And honestly, this is much more than you could generally expect from Trail Mix. Putting up such a good score on the Hidden Hard Rock, really putting that multiplier to full use, and so far it has been pure dominance from the USA for these first two maps.
Yeah, I mean, I could just say the exact same things about this as about the first map, where the USA just took the lead early on. Indonesia found some breaks at the beginning, and USA never looked back. Indonesia finally does get over the 1 million point mark, but I believe all three members of the United States, let's take a look here, 602k, their weakest score. Meanwhile, the best score for Indonesia is 366k. So 240,000 point gap from the USA's worst score to Indonesia's best score. I mean, that's alarm bells going off if you're on the side of Indonesia. Yeah. That's really scary.
Very much so. So 2NG, two maps have been played. USA has dominated both of them. Where in this pool do you look, if you're Indonesia, to try and get some semblance of control back in this match?
I mean, that is the question, right? Because I think USA did a really smart thing with their two bans. They know they're not a super strong speed team. They got rid of the two speed maps, and that leaves Indonesia without a lot of options. I think you mentioned before the Hidden One being a potential pick because Indonesia looked so good on it last week. I might go there and just say, you know, we're going to go to something that's a little more of a raw mechanics pick, and we're going to pick, you know, a mod that we're comfortable with. And just see how it goes, because obviously you can't pick anything similar to the first couple of maps if you're Indonesia, because you're just getting gapped incredibly hard on them. Other than that, maybe DT1. It's not a raw tapping map, but it does have a pretty hefty tapping requirement. That would be maybe another option.
Yeah, do you think they ever opt into some of the easier maps in the pool and just try and have the consistency advantage over the US?
It's always tricky. Yeah, it's always been a tough call. I feel like historically raw aim has never been the United States' forte in any international tournament, whether it's OWC or 3WC, 4WC. Like, it feels like they're never the Nomad 1, Hard Rock 1 country. But it's gonna be Hidden One from Indonesia, so we are going to get that pick. We were in agreement on that, I guess, about that potentially being a pick, and they were too. USA wants this map unranked. I'm not entirely sure what that means, what their reasoning is there. Well, actually, I do know it's the fact that USA has the two most notorious sticklers for like 1 millisecond timing differences in the entire tournament. So I'm guessing that probably something with it.
Yep, could be. There's a little chance.
I mean, Indonesia 3-wayed Hidden One last week in their match against Poland. So running back this map slot on a high BPM hidden one aim style. You know, it's an isomere map. Like, I think you kind of know what you're getting yourself into when you play an isomere map.
Yeah, I think the players to watch out for on the side of Indonesia that you're going to want to put up some big scores are Ryuto and Mindfrost, which is going to be, I believe, Koyori and Mizuna, the two players on the bottom of the screen. So keep an eye on those two. Hopefully they can put up some strong combos. Those two have had some very good hidden performances, I believe. Both of them placing fairly highly in a hidden-only tournament last year.
And this was their hidden one roster last week as well. The same 3 players for Indonesia. So, excuse me. They're sticking with their guns here. And, you know, you got to switch it up after those first 2 maps went. And I think this is a pretty reasonable place to start. But only one way to find out.
Very big fan of the pick from Indonesia, and they're going to be looking to do exactly what they did last week with a 3-way FC. It might be a little bit ambitious, but we can certainly hope.
Yeah, that would be a really impressive showing if the team 3-wayed this. I mean, I guess you could say I've seen Stranger Things, but this would definitely be up pretty high on the list. You're going to be able to build up some combo to start at least.
Yeah, both teams just going to be trading accuracy drops as well, so no significant advantage either way, but this map is somewhat spiky. The choruses are definitely the hardest parts of the map. You see how awkward the aim is, and this is where we're going to start to expect to see misses.
Yeah, it's, you know, your standard, like, XX1 slot, you know, where you've got the verses of the song that are a little bit more straightforward, but then you get into the KIs, and the bigger jumps come in, and the more awkward jumps come in as well, as to be expected from an isomere style map, but still all 6 players holding very comfortably thus far until the first break comes from Trail, and Indonesia get their first lead of the match on point number 3 here with a small score lead, but it's going to grow if they don't break anybody on their own side.
Yeah, everybody has recovered accuracy really nicely, so that's just going to be a non-factor here, and you've got a little bit of an easier section before the Ki, which is going to help out Indonesia a little bit. There goes Rosemi, that's a really big miss, and yeah, we're going to see that score bar go back over right to the US. Never mind, Trail Mix has missed, so it's going to be evened out. Takedo, Dekaten, Kaori, and Mizuna, all in the FCs. These are the 2 players we called out at the start of the match for Indonesia, and those are the 2 holding strong. Trail Mix again. Koyori does drop a ton of accuracy, but holds on to the combo, and combo is key here.
And there goes Takedo. That's a big miss. That's the one that's going to be really damaging now, because now it's 2 FCs to 1, but ain't that just 1 FC to 1? There's a trade, so it's Decade versus Koyori, and they're pretty similar in accuracy. Decade a little bit ahead, but that score lead just staying to the side of Indonesia for now. The backing combo a little bit higher on Lovelock compared to on Trail Mix. Takedo likewise slightly behind Nazuna, and there goes Decade, missing a full stream, and that might be all that Indonesia needs to take the point.
Yeah, Koyori only needs to hold on for another probably 10 seconds here, and Koyori is just so good at these hidden picks, especially the aim-focused ones.
Yeah, you can see just looking really, really comfortable over there. And it looks like we are going to get Indonesia putting their first point on the board. They will not drop another break point yet. They're going to keep this one in touch, only 1 point down. All they need is a 1 break point to get right back into it. A very solid performance team-wide, really, from Indonesia here.
Yeah, and Kaori was the one who I believe placed 3rd overall in that open ranked hidden-only tournament, so no surprises that they are the carry here in Indonesia, are going to be very happy to finally get one back. But it's the US now with the next pick.
Yeah, and the US, I think, still has plenty of options available to them. They're not going to take losing that map as too big of a negative, I don't think. That's not the end of the world. Losing a hidden one is you know, it is what it is. Like, you expect Indonesia to be good at that. USA, I think, if they've got kind of an awkward pick available to them, maybe goes that route, something a little gimmicky.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be Hard Rock too, so there you go. Just like that. It's gonna be Psyche. DK.
Not super gimmicky, but you know what you're gonna get with Psyche. It's going to be that aim control focus, and the US has looked really good on the aim control so far. I mean, it kind of shows in the DT4 ban from Indonesia as well that they're not feeling super great about these aim control style maps, and this one is 140 BPM, which is on the slower side, and so could make accuracy a little bit more of a challenge, especially with the OD10.
I feel like we've had a lot of players performing pretty well on this pick. So not like the craziest thing in the world. I want to bring up. I know I saw this at least once earlier today. I want to say China and Australia played this, and this was one of the 2 points that Australia actually won in that match. We had a 700k, several 500ks there. It's definitely a map that maybe has a larger range of outcomes for players than some of the others, but still one that they're capable of performing well on.
And I do think Hard Rock has been probably the worst mod throughout the tournament for Indonesia, so a great pick overall, and it looks like Decaton is going to be back in for this one, Fire Rage and Taquito as well. Pretty much what you'd expect from the US. And I think the roster's a little bit less clear from Indo. They are going to be waiting for their third player.
Yeah, I don't actually know what their Hard Rock roster is going to look like. I guess it's going to be Rosame. Good pin. I'm almost a little... I would almost say I'm surprised to see Taquito in for this since it's Hard Rock, but he's so comfortable with, you know, kind of the textile maps that I don't think... That prevents it from being any weirder, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally Taquito is going to be slightly less comfortable on the Hard Rocks than other mods, but Taquito is so good that slightly less comfortable is not bad by any means. Taquito is the kind of player that, even while slightly less comfortable, can consistently compete with the rest of the players in the lobby and put up comparable, if not better, Hard Rock scores. And Pipkin is going to find an early miss. Should be pretty inconsequential as long as they can recover the combo.
Yeah, that's so early on. I mean, most of these maps in this pool are not super lengthy, but still early enough that even on a map that's only 2 minutes 40 seconds, wait, early enough in this map. And everything else, well, on very good plays. Look at the Taquito accuracy. Well, I was looking at the Taquito accuracy. I'm not anymore.
Yeah.
He is no longer doing the thing he was doing.
Yeah.
This kick slider pattern, man, so scary.
They are. Remy has found a miss as well, and well, yes, okay, there goes Taquito. So that's going to even things out a little bit, and it's going to be pretty even overall. So Taquito does have the most recent miss, but Indo does have 2 misses. So it should be a very slight advantage to the side of Indo. There goes Fiery Rage, and that's going to be a big drop for the US. Traded back by Pipkin, but now it's 1FC to 1, and Rosemi with the highest supporting combo by far.
Yeah, it's Decaton versus Nazuna on the FCs. Decaton up 3% in accuracy. Helps out the United States. We're kind of clinging to a 150k lead, but love luck on the 430 plus combo is enough to bring this gap down pretty quickly. So if those two hold on the Indonesia side, there's a world where we could see a break point here, but we are still a third of the way out, so there is still plenty of time. Right now, kind of the status quo being maintained in terms of combo. Just Indonesia on that lead, trying to bring this score gap back as best they can.
There goes Fire Rage again, and that was, I believe, a 400 combo or so drop, so that score bar is going to go over to the side of Indonesia a lot quicker, but there goes Rosemi, going to trade it right back, and that was a pretty big combo for Indonesia, not one you could afford to drop, and they're actually going to be behind the US, not only in terms of combo, but across the board, down in accuracy. It's 98s for the US, 96s for Indonesia. Okay, there goes the entire lobby, except for Fiery Rage.
Oh, well,
That might be it.
That just ended the map right there. It was so close for so long, and then the entire bottom row just said, "Nah, we don't feel like hitting this pattern." And Fiery said, "Okay, guys, I got this. Don't worry." He's gonna bring this one on home for the United States. It's gonna end up looking less close than it was by the time this is finished. It's gonna be 300k plus, but that was really close until it wasn't. Man, goodbye to the world on that slider. And Fiery finishes off with an S rank, as do Decaton and Azuna, so that's pretty impressive stuff. 3 S ranks in lobby.
Yeah,
USA comes out on top.
Yeah, and that was such a surprising kind of chain of misses because it's not by any means a difficult slider. I guess everybody just getting caught a little bit off guard by the break right beforehand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Indonesia.
That's
Yeah.
the, like, we didn't actually practice miss.
Pretty much, yeah.
So Indonesia went hidden 1 last, and it went reasonably well for them. So if you're them, do you go more aim or do you go more hidden? Which of the skill sets are you leaning into that that hidden 1 kind of consists of?
Now, I'm personally leaning towards a little bit of both. I don't think you want to go too far in either direction, but I do think both things like HD2 and Nomad 1 could be solid picks for them. I think the HD2 is a little bit scarier because it does tend to be kind of more of that low aim control style that the US has looked very good on, but it does have a little bit of tech in there as well, so it's not quite as heavy on the aim control as the rest of the aim control picks we've seen so far. And so I do think either the Nomad 1 or the HD2 would be solid. Yes, the HD3 is open, but honestly, I don't think they really want to play the low AR HD because, I mean, especially because players like Taquito can probably put up very strong scores on that kind of a map.
Speaking of Taquito, this hidden 2 is like the Taquito map of all time as well. I do feel that that's a really scary proposition if you're up against Taquito on a map like that. But they're gonna go into it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the hidden 2 anyway.
And it's Boshi as well, right? The USA actually has a very incredible low AR HD roster, but we've got the hidden 2 instead, and this is going to be the, I'd say, tech aim control hidden pick.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, like tech aim control with cut streams. Like I said, it's a Taquito map. This just shouts Taquito at me. And look who's instantly into the lobby. Indonesia though, I mean, we've talked about their hidden prowess. They were, they got ranked. They got number 1 out of all the teams on hidden 1 last week. They got number 4 on hidden 2 against the United States is 6th. That was a 200k difference between the teams in favor of Indonesia on last week's hidden 2. But what happened last week doesn't seem to have much bearing on what's happening here tonight, as the United States has looked much stronger than Indonesia on several picks so far. So you don't want to take too much away from what happened a week ago.
Yeah, seems like Indo are missing a couple players as well. I feel like we've consistently seen Indonesia finding really random early misses on some of these easier sections. And this map is pretty similar in that the first kind of 45 seconds to a minute of this map are significantly easier than the rest of the map. So this is one of those maps where you really can't afford to find those early misses because it's so much harder to make up that combo difference later on in the map.
That's kind of... I feel like it's a little bit the case with a lot of these shorter maps in general too. Like regardless of where the difficulty is, it just becomes so much harder to build anything up when you only have 2 minutes to do it instead of 4 or whatever, or 5.5 if you're in Hippo Cup. But that's been the pain point for Indonesia so far as well, is early misses on maps where you really can't afford those early misses. So see if they can avoid them here on another pick of their own that it really kind of feels like they need to win. Down 3-1 already. Don't want to fall behind another break point. So we'll see what Koyori, that is, do I have a speech impediment or is that actually hard to pronounce? Lovelock and Azuna can do here against Taquito, Fiery, and Trail.
Yeah, I did notice in the chat right before the map started, Indonesia did mention that a couple of their players were asleep. Now, I mean, it is fairly early, something like 9 or 10 a.m. in Indonesia, but they did agree to this match. It is 9 p.m. in the US, so it's certainly not the only time that could have possibly been played. So if you are going to be missing players, it is kind of up to you to schedule yourselves a good time and not put yourselves at a deficit before the match. We do see quite a few early drops from Mizuna, really struggling early on with a lot of these patterns, dropping a ton of accuracy as well. And so once again, that's going to be early advantage to the US.
Yeah, these types of kind of slightly awkward flow aim control stream patterns, like, I feel like they're kind of binary. Players are either comfortable with them or they're really not, and they just feel super RNG. And you can tell, you know, United States, Taquito and Trail doing really well in the early goings. Taquito, well, holding that SS for now. We'll see what becomes of that. Fiery has dropped, but he is still ahead of Nazuna by 150k, so it just doesn't actually matter. And again, the accuracy lead for the United States has been the case in every map so far. Roasting down at 95 AC. Meanwhile, all three members of the United States above 99.3. There is another break from Fiery. It's kind of trying to help Indonesia out, but that USA Accolade is just carrying them. You know, that's the nice thing about V2 is you actually do have a little bit of leeway if you might be behind a bit in combo, as long as you're ahead in the accuracy like USA is here. It's a 200k lead despite the combo advantage actually being on Indonesia's side.
Yeah, I think a large part of the problem is the combo advantage is so minimal, especially on a map this short. That 100 combo advantage that Indonesia does have isn't really going to mean much unless the accuracies are very similar. And that's just not the case. Fire Rage does find another miss, but it's immediately traded back by Nazuna. And Indonesia, oh, there goes Taquito, but there's no time left.
I was so ready to just be super vindicated about how much I'd been saying this was a Taquito map if he freaking pulled off like an SS or 1x100, and then he goes and does that to me. This guy is so ungrateful, unbelievable. But that is still a really solid play for the S rank. Trail Mix bringing home the FC. And yeah, I mean, despite, I think that's actually 2 FCs from Indonesia. It just doesn't end up mattering because the accuracy is so low, and Nazuna had a lot of trouble. And 4-1. United States just in the driver's seat, and instant Hard Rock 3, like immediate Hard Rock 3. That was quick.
Yep, and honestly, I think we're gonna see the US just run through the Hard Rock pool while it's available. They know Indonesia doesn't feel great on most of these Hard Rock picks, and they're going to abuse it as much as they can. So if we do get to another United States pick, I expect the Hard Rock one to come up next, but this is going to be the small CS map. We should probably be seeing Boshi Man in for this one, as well as Thekatin, and maybe Fire Rage for the last member of the US.
Yeah, Fiery generally pretty reasonable for small circle size picks, so would not be surprised. It's the Boshi special though, 6.5 precision.
Yeah, this really is the Boshi special. Boshi is just an incredible gimmick player overall. It's the, the CS 6.5s, the AR8 HDs, very, very good at all of them. And when that's such a hard slot to fill, it's especially hard to find players that are really comfortable on both of them, let alone one. And so Boshi Man is such a valuable addition to this roster, even if he's only in for the, the hidden threes and the hard rock threes, those kind of more gimmicky picks. Just such a strong addition, whereas Indonesia doesn't really feel like they have anyone who's super confident on these kind of lower CS hard rock picks.
So, in we go. It is Decade and Fire Rage. Lovelock, Pippa, and Nazuna. Dito just woke up. Well,
okay.
It might be a little late, unfortunately, but we'll see. We'll see if we get an Inui Toko sighting. But for now, we are locked in, and away we go into Hard Rock 3, which would give the United States several match points if they win it. This tricky map, though, it's very flow aim demanding while also demanding some raw jump aim precision map.
Yeah, we do see early misses traded on both sides. Although, based on the timing misses, it's really no advantage to either team. And now it's Boshi Man. We're seeing misses all over the place in the beginning.
Yeah, there are already no FCs left. All 6 players have already broken. We're not even Yeah, I don't know.
on the slow section. I don't know what's going on this map.
This map is, I mean, this map is very hard. Like, it's a very difficult precision pick. I'm still surprised to see everyone in the lobby having as much trouble with it as they are. But I'm not surprised to see, like, at least some people having trouble with it, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
if you're forced into this as a non-6.5 player, you might well have a very bad time.
Yep. It's tricky. Rosemi is looking good, but all three of the USA players have recovered very nicely. And there goes Rosemi. That was kind of the last hope for Indonesia. We're already halfway through the map, and the US are all back above 300 combos. It's going to be 300,000 point lead. And this one's probably just over.
Yep, this is another map where it was kind of close until it wasn't. Indonesia remembered that, oh right, we aren't actually super comfortable with the skill set on all three of the players who are in for it after getting through the intro with that little bit of lead, and now they're just kind of struggling their way home to the finish line. Meanwhile, United States, Kate Nuss just shy of 600, Washington not far behind, and yeah, it's going to be another massive victory for the United States. Maybe a million points? Yeah, alright.
Yeah, I mean, the USA just has so many more picks where they're kind of clearly advantaged. Indonesia does have their picks, but compared to the number of clear, obvious picks the US has, they're kind of few and far between. And I do think those matches are pretty winnable if you are the team with less picks, but it really relies on you being very comfortable and winning every single one of your own picks, and then somehow trying to get an upset in the tiebreaker. And that just has not been anywhere near the case for Indonesia, who has already given up 2 break points in this match. They do have the pick, but the US now is on match point, and things are looking grim.
Yeah, if you're that team with fewer picks, you really have to be optimal in what they are. And just having DT2 and Fremod 1 alone, those two maps banned out against Indonesia, already compressed their list of possible picks so much. I mean, it took them down to like Hidden 1, and then after that, just kind of toss-ups, because there's so little raw speed in this pool. I mean, they're literally the only true speed maps in this pool, I think, are DT2 and Fremod 1. Like, once you get past those, there isn't a Nomad speed pick. There isn't a Hidden Hard Rock speed pick, because, you know, there never really is. There's only the one really speed pick in the DT pool with DT2, because, you know, DT3 is more of a consistency type of pick that's kind of one diff spike. DT4 is kind of a gimmick DT. So there just weren't the options for them in the skill set where they looked kind of dominant last week. And then once you run into a team like United States who are good at a lot of skill sets, that makes it just all the harder to make the most out of the picks that you might have remaining. And when you're doing all that at 9 a.m., I mean, like, they just kind of put their backs against the wall right from the outset. And it's going to be a Nomad 4 pick. So we're going to get the slider tech as Indonesia down to their last life here.
Yep, and I mean, 9 a.m., never a great time to play, but I'll say it one more time. You do have control over when you play, to some extent, of course.
So I don't know, was this the original time, or was this a reschedule? Because I don't actually know. I've just been assuming this was this feels like it's early to have been the original time, but I don't know.
I would agree, yeah. Seems like it was rescheduled for some reason, but I do like that you highlight the speed picks in the pool. Both of those were banned out by the US, and it was just smart bans from them, really limiting the options that Indonesia has.
But
oh, are we gonna see the Inuki appearance?
I don't know. Maybe no Dito. Unless they're waiting for somebody to move out of a slot. But apparently this was originally scheduled for 3 UTC, and Indonesia agreed to 1 UTC.
Very interesting.
That, with all due respect to Indonesia, I'm sure they had their reasons. With all due respect to Indonesia, that feels kind of minted.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, especially on these kind of larger teams, sometimes you have those weekends where just everybody is busy at various times. And you just have to pick a bad time and accept that it might not go well, and hope that people are more available in the future weeks. Although you do tend to see that much more often with the 8-player teams, whereas these teams, only 6 players overall should be much less of an issue generally, but obviously it's still very possible and does happen on occasion, unfortunately.
See here what happens. No mod 4 getting underway.
Yep. All that said, while things while things do look dire, Indonesia are certainly not out of it yet. They do still have, at the very least, 1 map to go. And if they pull that out, they'll have another and another and another. So we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, USA's got quite a few opportunities here, and that is a full team reset for Indonesia with only Bachi Man breaking on the side of USA. This one is a little bit longer than some other picks in this pool, right? No, I lied. It's only 2 minutes.
No,
I lied. I don't know why I thought this was like 3 minutes long. So this pick is also very short, and thus there is not a lot of time to recover combo if you break even early on. We've kind of been talking about that. It's a theme of this pool that many of these maps are very quick, so early breaks can be very punishing. And as we see, Fiery and Taquito holding comfortably with some interesting accuracy gap from Taquito to basically everyone else. This is feeling like the last legs here for Indonesia.
Yeah, I mean, accuracy has kind of been a big part of this match. Okay, there goes Inui. Now that was a very low accuracy combo, but again, you look at those accuracies, Pipkin, okay, there's 3 big misses. Bashi, Taquito, Toko, and Kayori. Now it's Pipkin versus Fire Rage, but unfortunately for okay, there goes Fire Rage now. Pipkin has the big FC, but I don't know if there's time.
Yeah, I think, there's the break anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I was gonna say, I didn't know if there was enough time to bring back 300k as one player of the combo, but with that break, that's pretty much gonna decide it. USA just dominant in this entire match. I mean, it felt like once the 2 maps that USA might have been worried about were banned, there was just no inroads that Indonesia could ever make. You know, they got their 1 point on the hidden one, and then after that, they were just quickly out of picks. They were never able to find their footing in the match, and the United States just kept their foot on the pedal the whole way through. And they're going to be advancing to the winners finals with a 6-1 final score that just was never in doubt.
Certainly wasn't. I mean, they are showing why they are the number 1 seed, why they're such a scary team. I mean, even just on paper, right? It's what, 3 out of 6 players, 4 out of 6 players that are just straight up from the OWC team.
Yep, you had Basha, Taquito, Decaton. Lugia didn't play at all today, but he exists on the team. Fiery, of course, who has been a historical OWC player. So, yeah. I mean, actually, there are multiple players from Indonesia who play on their OWC team, but the difference between USA OWC and most other countries' OWC is pretty noticeable.
Yeah, kind of see the gap transferring over to 3WC along with the players. But there are certainly some very strong teams in this tournament. Looking at South Korea and Hong Kong, our other winners bracket match that is yet to be played, and so we will see if either one of those teams are able to take down the USA in the winners bracket finals.
Yeah, USA is going to get back-to-back matches against Asian teams, from both in OWC and in 3WC, going from quarters to semis there and semis to finals here. Kind of nice symmetry. That's going to be a good one, though. I think South Korea versus Hong Kong has potential to be perhaps a little bit more competitive than this match was, which unfortunately was just a very one-sided sort of affair.
Yep, we'll hopefully be a lot closer, and that will actually be our next match. So 12:45 UTC tomorrow. Nice and early. Stay tuned for that. Yeah, gotta get the 45 in there.
Just play it at 13. Like what? It's 15 minutes. Oh man. Yeah, it's a 12:45. How long is that from now? That's like 11.
That's like a lot of hours. Yeah.
12 hours? I don't know. Anyway, it'll be in the morning, so you know it's on the other side of tonight for us Western Hemisphere people. But congrats to the USA. Well played match. Very dominant team, making their way into winners finals. Thank you for watching. I've been T1G. He's been iFlame. We will see you guys with the next match, 12:45 UTC Sunday morning. South Korea, Hong Kong, in the other winners semis. Until then, have a great night.
Take care.